Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be looking at the Sultry palette from Anastasia. So I do like the packaging of it. Like, I wish like I could just kind of put this on my eye and be all nice and sparkly. So I'm hoping that's what this palette will be. So the palette is nice and sparkly, right? You get your typical brush with it. I almost feel like don't give a brush, maybe make the product a little cheaper and stuff like that. But kind of like looking at those colors, I think they're pretty, right? So I'm just going to kind of go in and swatch these. So going through and swatching them, you have Flesh, Pearl, Steampunk, Rose Quartz, Ember, Bloom, and Birch. For the bottom row, you have Cylinder, Twig, Tweak, Dystopian, Cyborg, Slate, Noir. So some people on social media was like, oh, it's just the same things. So I think sometimes people are a little disappointed because they do want these palettes, but like to kind of have like, so they've had like at least 3 palettes come out this year. So like $200 on palettes is like a lot of money, right? For like one person who's like, oh, I need to get these, right? And Sultry is one of those like limited edition ones, right? So it's kind of like I can see why people are a little bit upset. Like, I think they just need to make palette prices like a little bit just more reasonable for things. Just because, like, I just know like salaries aren't really going up, but the price of everything is, so it just makes it hard, and I want everything. Like, that's what kind of makes it difficult. And you'll be like, you have them all. And that's because, like, I don't do anything with my life except makeup. So that's where I spend my money. But I do think these are, like, pretty colors. And that, like, it's one of those limited edition ones. But I still think, like, just kind of swatching them, it's just on your color preference of like what you kind of like. So if you don't really like some of those purpley colors, maybe this would be better than the Novena, right? But swatching them, I didn't notice any issues. So kind of going through some of like those colors, like they have kind of like those white colors, like just kind of going through some of them. Like, if you can see, none of them are really the same, but there are kind of like similar colors that they have. The only one would be the same is Noir, and I'm probably saying that a little wrong, but just like the black shade, where I really feel like, I get it's the Sultry palette, but like maybe do something different than just like a basic black, because I think someone can get that like anywhere. I don't think you really need a basic black. Maybe like a nicer kind of gray, right, would be something that not everyone has, and make the palette like a little bit more worthwhile. Like, I think it's always good to put one of those light tones, right? But I don't think every palette needs a black in it. It just needs like a darker shade. I do kind of in my background have my Anastasia palettes, and I was just kind of going through and comparing them. So if we kind of look at the two, so we have Novena, and then so Sultry and Novena, right? Like, they are different. Like, you are going to have some of those similar brown colors and whatnot, but like you can see that difference, right? So it's just kind of based on if you don't really use pinkies and purples, right? Maybe this one would be a little bit better. You can't really get the Mario palette, and like this one doesn't have any metallics. It's really just like those satin finishes. The Holy Grail will always kind of be modern renaissance, right? But this one, again, is more mattes, and it doesn't have those metallic-y shades, right? So there's nothing really kind of similar with that one. Like Prism, right? Not the greatest quality with it, and it has those different colors, and that would kind of be like Subculture, right? Versus it like Subculture and kind of Prism. Prism isn't too bad, but Subculture, it's really like Subculture is a little more pigmented, where you aren't going to be blending those shadows. You're just like using 1 or 2 shades, where with the other palettes, you really can use like almost the full palette to really create a look. But if you do that with Subculture, it just doesn't work. And then like maybe a little similar to Soft Glow, right? I would say, but they are different and whatnot. So I'm just going to do a makeup look. So I'm going to use their brush, and I'm going to go into Twig. So it's definitely like if you go into with their brush, if we can kind of see like Twig and that kick up, right? If we kind of like, if we somewhat saw that, like it will kind of pick things up, right? So they are ones that you don't want to like swirl your brush in, right? Just kind of dip it, and it is like a little bit powdery, but there's no fallout, so that's okay. So I'm going to blend this color into my crease. Just kind of going to go into Flesh and buff it out. I do think that's a nice cool tone. Twig is a nice kind of cool tone transition color. So I'm going to go a little bit darker and go into Dystopia. And then I'm going to go back into Twig. And I'm just going to kind of put this on my lower lash line. And then just going back into Flesh and kind of just softening that lash line, because I am going to go in with Bloom and put that kind of tight on the corner of my eye. Then I'm going to go into Pearl and put that kind of tightly on my inner corner. So just kind of going through with a brush. It's not really that creamy, so it will kind of like sheer out. I think I'm going to keep it like that and then use some Fix Plus to kind of highlight. And then I am going to use some all-nighter spray. I don't know how I get things in my mouth. And I'm going to go into Cylinder. And then I think I'm going to go over with Rose Quartz. And just kind of apply this along the center. So just be a little bit careful with Rose Quartz. Just because it kind of did take like a chunk out, right? Using it, so they're very like soft metallics, right? They're not necessarily those buttery metallics, which is nothing bad. You just want to be careful when you're using it, because you could kind of take a chunk out and then have a hole kind of in your palette. So I'm gonna wet my brush. Oop. And I'm going to go into Pearl and really put that on my inner corner. So I think Pearl's like another one of those like kind of chunky shadows where like you could kind of take a lot off. I'm just going to go in with the top of my brush kind of into Cyborg. And I'm just going to kind of put this right on the middle, keeping it close to my lash line. I'm going to go in with kind of a more tightly packed eyeshadow brush. I'm going back into that Cyborg. And then just going in with a tightly packed blending brush or crease brush. I'm going to go into Noir and just kind of define that crease a little. So just with a clean blending brush, I'm just going to blend things together. It's definitely like chunky glitter, because as I'm blending out, it's just like dropping onto my face. So I definitely recommend do your eyes first. So like it brushes away okay. So like some of that's like me maybe taking up a little too much product when using it wet, so it's kind of just a little caked on, and then it's now starting to dry and come off a little bit, but like also like it's just that chunky shadow, so it's a little bit 50-50 on meh, but it brushes away, so I'm okay if it kind of does that. I think it all came off, so just a little bit user, and then it wipes away, so that's okay. So I'm gonna go in with some mascara, so from Smashbox, their Full Exposure. So here's kind of like my finished look. So I just feel like it's nice and sparkly and that, but I don't think this is like a must-have product. So like, you know what, like if you really like Anastasia, right, then you can check it out. I do kind of wish it wasn't necessarily like limited edition, but like from how sparkly this is, I don't think my eyes are necessarily like as sparkly. Like I think I would still kind of go with the Novena palette over this, but if you're really not into those colors, then maybe go for this one. It might just be like you have to kind of use like your fingers. But I'm finding the look very similar to like almost like a nudes palette of things, right? Just maybe a little bit more of like that shine. So for almost $60 Canadian, right? So they've gone up like $4 in price. I'm just kind of like there's nothing that kind of wows me away. I'm just trying to put Cyborg in my inner corner because they don't like really layer well on top of each other. Like I think Cyborg is one of those like different colors than what's kind of out there, right? But is that worth kind of like a full palette to kind of get like a purpley silvery shade? I don't really know, and it's not that like, wow, amazing, but it's something kind of different. So like overall, like a little bit chunky, but nothing necessarily wrong with the performance. Like you just have to kind of use them a little bit differently. You can't really layer them up on each other. And I think like your finger's gonna work a little bit better, right? If you do want to layer, I would definitely do like finger over kind of Fix Plus. But then like I just feel like, I think like other people, just maybe like womp womp womp. Like maybe if this came out like after Christmas time, right? Like for Boxing Day, I think I might have been like a little bit more excited because it's like glittery to be like, oh yeah, this is great for New Year's. Where I feel like it's not really differentiating itself from anything else that's out there. So, like good solid performance, but not exceeding expectations, right? And stuff like that. But yeah, so let me know in the comments, like, do you think you would purchase this palette? Like, what kind of palette? So, of the Anastasia palettes, like, do you have any? What would be your go-to one to go to? Like, I still think, like, I like the Novena one over this and how it performed and things like that. But, like, I do think it gave me a nice sultry look, right? If only I had somewhere to go. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you have a great day. Bye!